So Tony the Closer got on Instagram Live, and man, it was entertaining, spicy, and juicy all at the same time, okay? For all those who's been living under a rock, allow me brother to explain. Tony the Closer was one of the hosts of $1 Million Worth of Game. $1 Million Worth of Game, the star host of that show is Gillie the Kid and Wallow. And he basically talked on his Instagram Live about his falling out between his former podcast members, as well as an incident involving him at Miami. Apparently, he was in his Lamborghini, and he had a firearm in the Lamborghini, and he a lot of involvement with the police department there. Y'all can go check out the article for yourself. I don't think that's I only think that's over with. I kind of want to wait until it goes into court, if it makes it to court, before we even talk about it. But nevertheless, he talked about that, and he talked about how he feels that Wallow and Gillie, with this huge platform, $1 Million Worth of Game, they never talked about it. They never broadcast it, particularly in the climate we're in, with social injustice, Black Lives Matter, police brutality. This could be treated as far as police brutality goes, as well as social injustice. But Wallow and Gillie didn't even talk about it on their show. They didn't even talk about it on their own profiles. Just letting everybody know what's going on and what's translating from this, and sharing their thoughts and opinions, because after all, they have $1 million worth of game. Okay, so Tony felt a certain kind of way because of that, and he also felt a certain kind of way towards his involvement in the podcast. He has been involved business-wise with the podcast. He also talked about on his Instagram Live how he gifted a gift to Gillie and his wife to go to Mexico. He even talked about he has an online school that teach people how to be entrepreneurs and influencers, particularly in retail. And a lot of these courses are free, okay, especially the successful ones, all right? And he was giving this course for free to Gillie's wife and their kids, okay? He also talked about the people that they got to come got Wally and Gillo to interview on their show, and he talked about how he contribute to that. Okay, he's been really supportive of Wallow and Gillie, and he even admitted on his live stream he's not a business partner. He doesn't own $1 million worth of game, but the disloyalty, and when he was doing a lot of things for Gillie and Wallow, it was no questions asked, and in a lot of cases he spent his own money. But when it was time to return the favor, Wallow and Gillie didn't do that. Okay, and the only time they were involved with Tony the Closer is when he spent his own money behind it. Okay, so he felt a certain kind of way about it. He felt disloyalty. Wallow and Gillie was very disloyal and dishonest to him. And he also talked about how he wasn't really involved or got into their issues or their personal gripes with Devin Nasty. He was a former host of $1 Million Worth of Game. Now he's doing his own thing. But when he was paying attention to his side of the story, he saw a lot of parallels that kind of matched up, and that was very consistent on his end and his involvement with Gillie and Wallow. Okay, so you got the dilly on that. I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts and opinions on it. I always tell you guys, and a lot of people hit me up in the comment section talking about, You don't know what you're talking about. You can do X, Y, and Z. You can do anything you want to do. This sky in the pie theory, this apple in the pie theory that, you don't have to bound anybody to do anything. My thing of it is, I feel like with this situation with Tony the Closer, I feel the same kind of way when Devin was mentioning and airing out his grievances with GILLIE. And I've seen this throughout social media, particularly with us as African Americans. I don't understand why we have to be friends or involve our personal feelings or our labels. Oh, that's my friend, that's my pal, that's my colleague. But we don't get our business right. We don't draft or construct contracts, and both of us have to sign where I'm obligated to do this and pay for this, and you're obligated to do that and pay for that, and I'm going to get this part, you're going to get that part. I don't understand why we and I feel like as an African American, we get screwed over royally on business decisions or success or anything. We don't get our credit. We don't get our profit. We don't get the respect. Okay. And stories like this is why we don't get that. Okay. I don't understand, maybe Tony was doing this off of, look, if I'm doing this for them and they supposed to be my friends, they're going to do this for me. Okay. And he was believing that. And it's fine for you to believe that. But if nothing is documented, if nothing is written, they're not obligated to do nothing for you, just like you're not obligated to do nothing for them. Okay? And I don't understand, and I really do feel bad for Tony the Closer. I think he's a stand-up guy. He's a good dude. But I've seen people like this. I dealt and worked with people like this that are so gullible that they feel like everybody is on the same level as them. Everybody is happy-go-lucky. Everybody is pulling on the rope. Everybody is doing their thing. Okay. And like I said, Tony the Closer is a good dude. But man, as much business you have done, okay, you mean to tell me you're not, and it's not a smart thing, it's not an intelligent thing, it's not a high IQ thing. I really think he was doing it because he had in his mind and in his belief that Wallow and GILLIE, they supposed to be these stand-up guys. They're preaching $1 million worth of game. They're loyal. They have loyalty. They have good ethic and things of that nature. And he feels like, look, if I'm stand up, if I'm doing X, Y, and Z, they're gonna do A, B, C for me. And they were not obligated to do that. And yes, that is. I feel like, look, Wallow and GILLIE, that was totally wrong what they did. But then at the same time, you have to protect yourself before you wreck yourself. I feel like a lot of these stories, and like I said, I did a video on Devin. I felt like even though he made it, a lot of points he was making, he was right about. But the biggest point at the end of the day, you did not have any contracts that showed that you should get ownership of $1 million worth of game. Okay, it just, and a lot of people were fighting me tooth and nail about it. That was like a couple of years ago, and everybody done forgot about it. Okay, everyone had their beliefs, but if nothing is written, I don't care what you believe, what you think, what you may think if nothing is binding to a contract, they are not obligated to do nothing for you, and you in return are not obligated to do nothing for them. Okay. Another thing I want to talk about is like I said, people love mess. We all love mess. We love to, hear about the mess. We love the noise of it. We have an attraction for it. And sometimes we'll do the extreme to be entertained by it. If it means I have to subscribe to your channel or to your podcast, we're going to do it. If I have to listen to a couple of episodes of you telling your side of the story, we're going to do that as well. We're going to be laughing, kikiing. But when the dust settles and it's back to normal, back to business, how many of those subscribers are still subscribed to you? And how many of those subscribers are still listening to your podcast or watching and paying attention to what you do on social media or content-wise on YouTube? Is it half? I feel like it's less than half. Because once people get their entertainment on and you tell them all the juicy gossip and this, that, and the third, they're going to gravitate and go to something else. And I feel like that's the same thing going on with Rory and Mal. And I've said this in countless videos. I feel like people are subscribing to their channel. They're watching their content, but they're watching it for the wrong reasons. They want Rory and Mal to bash Joe Budden on a day in, day out basis, talk about Joe Budden in the worst way. But once they start getting back to the thick of things and what's normal to them, life goes on. And how many of those subscribers that subscribe to you, they subscribe to you for different reasons. When you're not entertaining them with mess and pettiness and all this stuff, and you're just, going about your day, doing your own content, how many of those people are going to still subscribe to you and listen to your podcast or watch your videos? Not that many. It's not even half. It's less than half. People just move on. And I feel like with this situation, everybody, Tony the Closer talked about a podcast that he's doing with Des Bryant. And people are going to subscribe to that podcast. They're going to listen to all the episodes, particularly the episodes of him bashing $1 million worth of game. But once everything gets back to normal and Tony the Closer starts talking about other things besides $1 million worth of game, people just move on. Yeah, I got my entertainment from him. Why am I subscribed to him? Why am I listening to him? I'm just going to subscribe and listen to somebody else that's got mess. Okay, that's how, as human beings, we all have to admit to that. I know a lot of people are gonna watch this video and say, "Oh no, I'm different. I'm cut from a different cloth. I don't be entertained by mess." Okay, when you can look at any content provider, their best view count is content with messiness. Okay. And I've been in these YouTube streets long enough to know what's fact and what's fiction. So I wish, now he's waiting on GILLIE and Wallow to respond. And they're not going to do that. They're just going to move on. They may do some sneak dissing here and there. They're not going to mention that man's name because they know what that man got. That man got plenty of evidence that's been photoshopped, this, that, and the third, phone conversations that were recorded. They don't want to end up being a Rachel Nichols, okay? So they're just going to keep it pushing and keep it moving, all right? So that's what's going on with Tony the Closer. I don't think a lot of people even know who he is, and that's what's going on, and him and $1 million worth of game. Guys, I will talk to you later on the next video. Deuces.